Senator Kirsten Gillibrand has announced as of last night that she is going to be pursuing the Democratic nomination for the presidency. She's formed an exploratory committee, but she's also just said, no, I'm running. It's not just one of those like, well, maybe they'll come back and say I should. No, she's running. She announced it on Stephen Colbert, which I guess if you can, you do that, I suppose.
Politics is let me just say real quick, because it's so crazy. Because when she was running for re-election in the Senate, and she won handily, I think she got 67% of the vote. Won a lot of districts that Trump won in New York, and she's been tacking to the left ever since she was first elected. But it's just funny. I'm not really knocking her, but the process is dumb because she said, if elected, I will serve my 6-year term. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, and that was
a month, 2 months ago.
Right, it was 2 months ago.
It was what I would call a lie.
Yeah,
but that's fine. They all lie about that stuff. I totally get that. That's not what this video is about. What this video is about is that there are going to be a lot of people running. And we've got some months before the first debates, let alone the first primaries or caucuses. And along the way, we're gonna be watching the things that they say, the bills that they put forward, what they actually do. And we'll be breaking that down, we'll have an open mind. But we have to be willing to look critically at any candidate, whether we're predisposed to immediately endorse them or the exact opposite of that. So all of these candidates are gonna have pros. Most, if or all, are going to have significant cons. And so in this video, I wanna start that process. So first of all, some of the pros. And these are the more recent stuff that Ben was alluding to. She voted against all but 2 of President Donald Trump's cabinet nominees and has only voted in line with the Trump administration's position 7.1% of the time. That's the lowest rate of any of her Democratic colleagues, including Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren. Additionally, along the way, she has thrown her support behind progressive policy causes, from raising the minimum wage to legalizing weed to a federal jobs guarantee to rejecting corporate PAC contributions. So that is the stuff recently. But we do have to take a slightly wider look at what she has done since she's gotten into government. And that starts quite a bit further back than what was included in those 2 graphics. Her political career began back in 2007 in the House. At that time, her political positions were much more conservative, and she was among the least liberal members of the Democratic House, ranking 209th out of 241 during the 2007 to 2009 term. She held an A rating from the NRA and was against protections for sanctuary cities. She became a member of the Blue Dog Coalition of conservative Democrats. She supported a balanced budget amendment and a ban on deficit spending. Her immigration platform was of a piece with the proto-Trumpism brewing during George W. Bush's second term. No amnesty or benefits for illegal aliens. That's not my terms, that's what's written in the Slate piece. But a crackdown on sanctuary cities like New York, more agents fencing and tech for the border, legislation making English America's favorite official language, not favorite, they don't generally vote on that. It's clear it is though.
I think it would win.
I probably would, maybe Swedish. The Human Rights Campaign, an LGBTQ advocacy group, gave her the lowest rating of any New York Democrat in Congress for her positions on gay rights issues. Now, all of that changed or began to change once she was elevated from the House to the Senate. So when Hillary Clinton's seat was vacated and she was appointed, that seemed kind of crazy because, again, she was one of the most conservative Democrats in the House, and all of a sudden she's representing one of the most liberal states in the country. But she did switch up her position on some issues. Her NRA rating was downgraded to an F. And as of December 2017, she was the 7th most liberal member of the 46-person Democratic caucus, which is a significant switch inside of less than 1 decade. Now, she has been asked about some of those position changes. And so on guns, she said, after I got appointed, I went down to Brooklyn to meet with families who had suffered from gun violence in their communities. And you immediately experienced the feeling that I couldn't have been more wrong. You know, I only had the lens of upstate New York, which that's a good response.
I don't think so.
It's undercut slightly by the fact that she had been living in New York City for a decade at that point.
Well, she represented upstate New York, though.
She did represent it, but she's acting as if she had only been exposed to those ideas, though you were surrounded by the more liberal New Yorkie types.
Yeah, I don't like it because it reeks of Rob Portman changing on gay rights because he's a gay son, and I always, as we've said here many times, did you not think anybody of your friends, any other person had a gay son? There were some other people in the country with gay kids. So it shows a myopia, and on some issues that's fine. I can on agricultural subsidies, some of those things might make more sense. you remember Congress, I think you're sort of duty bound to see the big picture. It's very obvious. We don't need to, I don't think it needs to be broken down in a complicated manner. She represented a conservative district. She wanted to keep getting elected in that district in upstate New York. So she was, a blue dog Democrat, and the NRA loved her. And she didn't even want to get very far left on social issues, which might even have been okay. But she was an incredibly careful politician. And then she was elected, appointed as a senator in the bluest, maybe the second bluest state in the country, or right up there, second bluest big state, and she moved left. Now that could be a political awakening, which is what she wants you to believe, and which I'm prepared to believe happens to people. It does, because my political hero, it happened to Bobby Kennedy, massively happened to Bobby Kennedy, legitimately. But it also shows a degree of pragmatism. And then she'll be elected president, which she won't, but she'll be elected president, and then she'll be like, well, now I got to tack back to the center because this is, a center-right country, and that's what she'll come to believe. I don't think it is, but that's what she'll believe, or center anyway. Forget center-right. So I wouldn't. That's why progressives won't trust her. But that said, I like a politician who changes their position, and then I think we get to look at, for all of these people who progressives don't trust. I don't share some of that same distrust to the extent that others do, but because I want to see the political skill. Like every person running, as you say, John, has a hurdle to get past. Some of them are very steep hurdles, some of them are endless number of hurdles, some of them aren't that many. And then your political skill gets you past them, or doesn't, right? So she's gonna be put on the spot about that, and she's gonna have to navigate it with some degree of political acumen, where she says, no, this is who I am, that's not who I was, I've grown, I've changed.
Yeah, here's what I learned about Kirsten Gillibrand at Aussie Fest, where I interviewed her on a panel with Chelsea Handler. She does her homework. So she was, and I'm not exaggerating, she was literally the first person that I was gonna interview, like big public figure, who actually did her homework on me, who knew who I was, knew what my policy positions are. She knew what my political ideology is, what's important to me. And before that panel began, she worked very hard to make it abundantly clear that she considers herself a progressive. And so I'm saying that because, sure, there's some possibility that it came from a genuine place, but it came off as very strategic for me. And I think that one of the huge red flags that it's probably one of the hurdles that you're talking about, Ben, is her relationship with Wall Street. Because right before she announced that she was gonna run, she met with Wall Street executives to gauge their interest in supporting her. And so why does she need their support? Why does she care about their support so much? I think that's an important thing for her to address if she wants to really prove how progressive she is.
Well, and in direct contrast with Bernie Sanders, who said in a debate, that, I forget exactly how he put it, but he said they're scared of me and they should be scared of me. He doesn't want their support, he wants their opposition. I think it was a reference back to, was it Teddy Roosevelt? I forget exactly. Yeah, but that's if we were to begin listing groups that you would go to before deciding if you were gonna run, I would run out of ink and multiple pens before I'd hit Wall Street.
I got you. She's a senator from New York. It's the excuse you're going to hear 10,000 times, and it is also true. And that's where Wall Street is. It's in New York.
I've heard that.
So again, what did you say to him? What were you looking for, right?
Right.
And if it was like, hey, look, guys, I don't want you guys to be the enemy, but I want you to know that we need to make sure we don't have another financial crisis, and I'm going to work with people to rein you in a bit. I don't want to cut off your business.
Yeah, may I jump in with, because it's one thing to meet with Wall Street executives, which of course, as I mentioned, is a bit of a red flag, but it's also important to look at funding. And so according to Open Secrets, they keep track of the political campaign donations. A significant portion of the money Gillibrand has fundraised has come from the securities and investment industry, most of which are Wall Street firms. In the 2018 cycle, Gillibrand received more than $1.84 million from individuals and PACs combined within the industry. The securities and investment PACs, which gave the most to her election campaign, were Bank of New York Mellon, Deutsche Bank Securities, TIAA, and UBS Americas corporate PACs.
Yeah, and I mean, we care about where your source of funding is.
Right.
Yeah, now I want to read one other quote I believe this is from March of last year. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it has to do with Wall Street. And she was talking about the empowerment of women. And she says, the empowerment of women is so important throughout the economy and through leadership through these offices because we don't value women in society. And that's just the fact. And it's not just, I feel exposed because I'm tearing up because I'm not like a man. No, how about I'm tearing up because I'm so angry and frustrated and my emotional intelligence is going to make this company succeed. If it wasn't Lehman Brothers, but Lehman Sisters, we might not have had the financial collapse. That's not, I like the point about female empowerment. That's not why we had the financial collapse. Yeah, I'm not saying that she definitely thinks that would have changed it, but that's not what would have changed it.
I think she was making a rhetorical point, but I hear you.
Yeah. I think it is far too dangerous ground to make some sort of rhetorical point when we really care what a New York senator thinks about Wall Street.
Well, she's going to have, again, she's definitely going to have to explain it. I mean, she's going to have to say, do you want to strengthen Dodd-Frank, repeal it, Glass-Steagall? What are your thoughts on this? And I'm sure she's spoken about it before, and there's a voting record on it. But those are some of the things she is going to have to get past. But she is clearly also going to be, if she makes it through the first couple of rounds, whatever that means, whatever. Some people are going to drop out before there's any debate at all. But if she makes it, if she passes an initial vetting test, then pretty clearly she's going to be, the mainstream Democratic establishment is, I think, probably quite prepared to embrace Kirsten Gillibrand.
Yeah, which is probably another mark against her. And I do want to just say a slightly more general point. I know there are probably people watching this that like her and are already prepared to support her. I haven't made any endorsement. I hope that I don't have to make any endorsement for quite a while. I want to see the process go through. I want to see, again, what people say, what people actually do, the votes that they hold, the legislation they suggest, all of that. But along the way, it is our job and our responsibility to vet these people and to make clear all of the potential negatives that they have. This is not intended to set her on fire. This is intended to educate the audience about some of the things that she has said and done in her career. And whether you are a fan of her already or not, you should be willing to embrace that. If you can't
if you've already made up your mind, sorry to interrupt you, but if you've already made up your mind, then you're not politicking correctly, right? And just don't be so quick to either support someone or write someone off, right? I think that, I don't know, there's just all this pressure. I mean, I feel the pressure from some of our audience members, certainly not all, about what do you think? What do you think? Do you support her? Do you support this person? What do you think? Are you gonna endorse? I don't know. It's 2019. We just rang in the new year. Just give us an opportunity to really analyze voting records, campaign contributions, who these people are meeting with, what kind of speeches they're giving, how they've changed their opinions or their political positions. Are those changes genuine or were they strategic, politically speaking? I don't know. We're kind of trying to digest everything as it comes in. Yeah. And so, look, I find Gillibrand's close ties with Wall Street extremely problematic. That's my view on Gillibrand as it stands today. But with that said, who are the other candidates and how do they, size up against Gillibrand? We need to wait and see. If I had to vote for someone today, I don't think I would have casted my vote for her in the primaries, but I don't know. Let's wait and see what's gonna happen.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.